Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Hello, everyone, and good Saturday morning. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful show we have in store for each and every one of you. And welcome to Dare to Soar, where we elevate voices, expand perspectives, and explore the issues shaping our communities and our profession. Of course, I am your host, Dr. RC. And as always, I am so honored to create a space where meaningful conversations take flight. You see, today's conversation is just so timely as well as necessary. Across this country, we are witnessing a shift within the school social work profession, one that is raising important questions about sustainability, support, and what is truly taking place, the work and long-term effects. Today's episode is titled Millennials Are Leaving the School Social Work Profession. What must be changed to retain and reclaim them? This is not a conversation rooted in blame. So let me be clear about that. It is a conversation grounded in truth, reflection, and responsibility. Because the reality is this: many social workers are not walking away from their calling, they're walking away from the conditions. They're walking away from what it means to just take a shift. And we're going to move forward. We must be willing to listen across generations, across experiences, and across perspectives as well. So today I'm honored to be joined by two what I consider dynamic and deeply impactful voices, who are social workers, of course, whose journeys represent both experiences and evolution within the field. First, I have Dr. Kashera Guy Robinson, LCSW, has worked in the social work profession for 30 years. She served as a social worker in a district near Atlanta, Georgia, just shy of 20 years, and presently serves as a director, field education, and assistant clinical professor at Auburn University in Montgomery. She was a long-term member of the School Social Work Association of America, where she previously served as Southern Regional Representative 24 and 25. Dr. Guy Robinson has also held memberships with National Association of Social Workers, where she served as a committee member on the School Social Work Specialty Practice Section 2020 and 2024, the School Social Work Association of Alabama, and the School Social Workers Association of Georgia, where she served in a number of roles at both the local and state levels. Her proudest moment with the organization, however, was when she served as a School Social Worker of the Year in 2023. And joining her is Mrs. Erika Cuttray, a licensed clinical social worker who brings both depth and perspective shaped by transition with the profession. Erika currently serves as a senior social worker at the Atlanta Veterans Medical Center, where she provides crisis intervention and leads suicide prevention efforts, her clinic's high risk champion. She is also a owner of Serene Mindset, LLC, her private practice, where she continues her commitment to emotional wellness and healing. A proud graduate of Savannah State University, where she earned her Master of Social Work with honors. Erika brings over 12 years of experience in trauma, grief, and depression. She is passionate about mentoring future social workers, advancing mental health awareness, and equipping others with tools to build healthy mindsets. Erika is also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and values time spent with her husband and her son and loved ones. Together, you see, these two voices represent more than different generations. They represent insight and evolution, commitment and courage, staying and shifting. And today we bring them together, not to debate, but to understand. And I want to be very clear about that. Because you see, the future of school social work will not be shaped by one generation alone. It will be shaped by what we are willing to learn from one another. So let's begin. But before we begin, I know that I've laid out a foundation for you of both of these powerful young women. It is time for a commercial break. So I want you to hold on to everything I've said. But I also want to say this. Although this topic for this morning is going to be talking about school social work, I want to also say that social work is a foundation of many avenues. And on that note, I'm going to go to this commercial break. And when we return, we're going to dive into the questioning I have for both of these powerful women. We'll be right back after this break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back once again. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am your host, Dr. RC. Millennials are leaving the social work profession. What must we change to retain and reclaim them? I have two perspectives joining me today. I want to dive right into my questions that I have for them. So, Dr. Guy Robinson, I'm going to kick off the questioning with you for this morning. When you think about your journey in social work, what initially called you to this profession?
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It looks like I'm a little delayed on my end. I'm in a rural area, so forgive me for the issues with technology. But what called me to the social work profession initially, when I was a bachelor's student, I actually started off majoring in something else. And then, but every time I would tell people what my major was, they'd ask me, well, you gonna be this or you gonna be that? And I was like, well, no, I want to help people. And I think that was back in the days when we had that big old occupational manual that you could get from the library. So this was in the 90s. So this was a long time ago. And I think I got exposed to that. And I looked through it and I looked at various careers and I decided, hey, social work sounds more like what I want to do, and I ended up majoring in social work as a bachelor's level student, and I never looked back. It was perfectly suited for me
Outstanding, outstanding. And
and
let me
continues to
share
be.
with you guys that Dr. Guy Robinson is speaking from the Gen X generation. So I shared with you we're having two generations. So Ms. Cuttray is speaking from the millennial generation. So I'm shifting to her next. So this question is for you. How do you believe your generation has shaped your expectations of the social work profession?
I'd like to think that millennials, and of course I don't want to speak for all millennials, but I'd like to think that we've been more adaptable in how we meet people where we're at. Just being able to adapt to our environments. But I want to say that our villages, I feel like, really shape who we are in the workplace and how we show up every day. I know at least my village does. Um, and my mentors as well, all my mentors, hopefully they're able to see. I was inviting them all today, how much they have shaped me, whether they were counselors or social workers or just even teachers. My mentors really have developed me in the way that I see social work and how I adapt. And I think all millennials, no matter what career they're in, would say a similar answer to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Garamis, I want to shift back to you. What are some of the key differences that you have observed between generations and how they approach the work?
Well, now that I am a seasoned saint, as I would say, um, and I've had an opportunity to not only work with millennials. Well, I had it when I came in, I was working with baby boomers
Mhm.
because I was the baby on the job when I first started working almost 30 years ago. But so my generation, the way that I see it is we were more open and more receptive to listening, to learning from our elders.
Mhm.
And what I have found in my experiences, and as Erica stated, I don't want to speak for all millennials or all Gen Zs or for all people from my generation, but what
Mhm.
I can say is that I've learned that they're not as receptive to listening to advice or to words of wisdom that my generation or generations before like to impart in the workplace. I had a millennial colleague tell me once, because I always kind of considered myself kind of like the big sister or the motherly figure on the job, because
Yeah.
that's how older people did me. They would
Yes.
give me the game, as young folks would say. They would give
Yes.
me nuggets or tidbits of wisdom, and I would inhale it, because I think it helped make me a stronger practitioner. But in my experience with my younger colleagues, one colleague once told me, well, just because you've been doing this a long time doesn't mean you know everything. I have the same level of education that you have. And I told her, I said, well, you have the same level of education that I have, but you don't have the same level of experience that I have.
Yes.
So, that was a tidbit or a reminder to me that everybody is not asking for your information, or everybody is not receptive to what you have to share. So that was a learning experience, even for me, that even though I meant good, it doesn't mean everybody wants to hear what you have to say. They don't appreciate what you have to say. And it doesn't mean it is negative, it's just what it is.
Yes. Yes. It is a definite shift in mindset. As we grow, sometimes we say growing pains, but they're really not growing pains. It's just about being tuned in to the shift
Mhm.
that occurs over time periods and generations. And that's fine. That's okay. It just lets us know that, hey, okay, sometimes we have to, as they say, pump the brakes and just be open to a difference. And that's why conversations such as these are so critical and so important for us to be open and willing. So it's about retaining and reclaiming and the willingness that we have to exchange information amongst ourselves, because it's the newness of it all. And that's fine with that. Millennials are leaving the school social work profession. What must we do to retain and reclaim them? And as I said at the end of the opening, all social work is a big part of what we do. Today's conversation just happened to be about school social work, but this conversation is one that's needed because that's why we're having from both ends, and that's what we want to do. I want to continue moving on because I do have a lot of questions for both of these voices today. And this question is for the both of you. What has been the most rewarding part of your social work journey? And Ms. Cuttray, I'm going to start with you to kick off that response to this question.
Okay, yes. I love the autonomy in social work. It's not just a one lane, one path career.
Mhm.
You can pivot anytime you need to pivot. As Kashera knows, I will pivot when I need to. Even before even before I was a school social worker, I had done CPS. I worked in psychiatric facilities. I had done in-home community care. There is just such a broad field, and going back to Kashira's point earlier when she answered why she went into social work, very similar stance. just the fact that you can touch so many people in different ways in social work is a beautiful thing. And a lot of people feel stuck in their professions. And in social work, I've never resonated with that. I've always been able to say, okay, well, this agency doesn't work for me, but let me try something else. And it
Mhm.
really has helped me grow as a social worker. So I love the fact that we can just move around the way we need to and adapt and go back if we need to. So that's my stance on, what's one of the most rewarding parts of this journey and being in social work.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Dr. Guy Robertson, I'm getting the signal. It is time for a commercial break. So when we return, I'm going to have you to respond to that question. Guys, don't go away. While we're on this commercial break, go get your coffee, tea, get that cool glass of water or cold glass of water, but also grab a friend. Dare to Soar, Dr. RC, that's me. And I am here with two powerful voices from two different generations. So we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again to this compelling and timely episode of Dare to Soar. Yes, of course, it's me, Dr. RC. Oh, what a conversation. And we're just at the tip of the conversation. Right before the break, the question was asked, what has been the most rewarding part of your social work journey? So, Dr. Guy Robinson, please share.
I would say, and thank you for that question. I would say having the ability to impact lives in a positive way. I have always, well, for the overwhelming majority of my career as a social worker, I've worked with children and youth or in young
Mhm.
people. And I spent the majority of my career working with children. So just having an opportunity to see them come back or send you a text or an email saying, hey, I just wanted you to know you made a difference in my life. And now, as a person who is working with the next generation of social work professionals, seeing my students, they're doing so well, passing the licensure exam, going on to get employment, going on to grad school. I now have students who have completed their masters because I left school social work myself 3 years ago
Mhm.
after a 20-year career. And in the last 3 years, I've been working full time in academia. And so I have already, from my BSW students, had the opportunity to see some of them go on and get their masters. So one of them just texted me a picture of her yesterday in her regalia receiving her master's. So that really makes
Wow.
me feel good to just see that whatever it is that I've been able to impart in their lives is memorable enough for them that they come back and say, "Hey, I just want you to see where I am now." So that's probably been the most rewarding part of my job.
I love
as a
that. That is
social worker, as a
progress.
career social.
That is outstanding. And those are those feel good that give you those, little tingly feelings all over. It lets you know that this work is not done in vain. But I'm not going to get on my soapbox. We're going to keep on going because I have to get these questions in for the both of you that I know that, the viewers and the audience, the listeners want to hear. So Ms. Cuttray, this question is for you. And it's going to be a shift and a flip around. So, what has been the most challenging? And I know this is probably one of those like, ugh, questions, the most challenging or disheartening experience you've encountered?
Uh, well, it's an important question to ask because I think a lot of social workers have experienced that no matter what generation they're in.
Yes.
One of the most probably disheartening experiences I've ever had was having to leave a position where I felt no longer aligned with my purpose and my values. There's a lot of systematic issues. The organization no longer aligned with who I was as a social worker,
Yes. Yes.
which when I say was extremely disheartening, I cried.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to leave my colleagues. I was comfortable in my schools, but over time, it just felt increasingly difficult to reconcile with the work that I was being asked to do. And when you're in positions where when you have leadership that doesn't align with who you are as a social worker, who people who are not social workers, it can be very difficult. And I knew I couldn't show up the way I needed to for the
Mhm.
children. Um, and myself, really, most importantly, I
Yes.
had to choose myself so that I could be the best social worker I could be. But making that decision to leave wasn't easy. It was definitely came with a sense of loss, but I've gained so much in that journey of leaving. But that was one of the most difficult things that I've gone through in my career. Just pivoting like that it was intense.
Mhm.
It
And let me
was.
say, just to piggyback on that, thank you for your transparency because right now, as this is being aired and the playback will be aired as well, of those who will view it, many are sitting pondering over a decision that you were courageous enough to make. And they are pondering, wondering if they can be courageous enough to make that same decision. And I
Mhm.
dare say they are sitting in agony, if you will, trying to make the determination to take that step to move forward. So just by you sharing those mere words, you have encouraged probably the masses to do just that because that fear stagnates so many individuals from doing what it is they know they need to do but are in fear of doing, so they remain on like in a freeze mode of not
Mhm.
moving forward. So thank you for your transparency in doing that and just sharing that because you've empowered so many people by just sharing those words. So that deserves a hand clap for
Yeah,
sure.
thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you.
much for sharing that. So Dr. Guy Robinson, for those who have stayed, what keeps you grounded and committed despite the challenges?
Well, what made me stay for almost 20 years was because in the beginning I really enjoyed it. It was one of those jobs, Dr. RC, as you know, when we were hired, you had to wait for somebody to die or retire to get a job as a school social worker.
Yes.
So once you got the position, you were locked in, you weren't going anywhere. And as Erika shared though, after, 20 years of changes with administration, at the top level, changes with our administrator at the local level, just our direct supervisor. And as Erika shared, just not being aligned with our values as social workers, because a lot of times what happens in school social work, I always tell young folks in social work who come into the school system and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a school social worker. I have a master's. I mean, why
Mhm.
aren't they respecting us? And I say, you have to remember that we are on the island of school social work in the
Yes.
sea of education. So
Yes.
it's their world. Many of us come from social work backgrounds where we're used to being like everybody's a social worker. So you're
Mhm.
important. And I'm not
Yes.
saying you're not important in the school system setting, but you're not their A1 uh, person of focus or group of focus. Their group of
Yes.
focus are teachers. And
Yes.
so they want to make sure teachers are happy because if teachers are not happy and they don't have enough teachers in the classroom to educate students, then they can't move forward with objectives. And so we're collateral damage, if you will. And so just after a while, just not feeling appreciated and not feeling valued for the work we were doing, I started to feel like my millennial and Gen Z colleagues. And so, that's what I fear is starting to happen even with our generation more than it has historically. I know I didn't
Yeah.
quite answer your question, Dr. Archie, but that was kind of what I wanted to impart based on what you asked.
Well, actually, you dropped some very serious what I like to call platinum nuggets in that response.
Mhm.
And on that note, it is time for commercial break, guys. So I promise you, both of these powerful voices, and this is my version of powerful voices that have been brought together for you this morning. It is time for a commercial break, and they will return with more to share.
Mike Zorich, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back once again. This is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC. I know that you're enjoying this. Both of these generations, and I'm saying generations, both of these voices are dropping what I like to call some powerful platinum nuggets. I don't want to belabor them because they have so much more that I have to ask them. So, with that being said, I want to dive right back into the questions. So, this next question is for you, Ms. Cuttray. For those who have transitioned, what led to your decision to step away or even shift your path?
One thing I can say is the lack of fear. Even though there was a tiny bit of fear, the lack of fear, being able to say, again, going back to my passion is always there. But when those systematic issues override and outweigh the impact I can make on the communities I serve and how I
Mhm.
show up, even show up for my colleagues, those ongoing barriers are going to limit how I show up and what I do. And I found myself navigating practices that just didn't sit right with me. So when I say that, when you talk about people transitioning and needing to step away, you really have to take a step back and ask yourself those pivotal questions. Why am I stepping away? How is this going to impact the community I serve? Do I need to talk to my fellow social workers? I've had several social work sisters, Dr. Robinson being one of them, and I said I can't do this anymore. What do I need to do? How can I transition? But also transitioning professionally, which I can say for millennials, although we will step away, from what I've experienced, we have always
Yes.
stepped away professionally. We've made sure we've done it in a, in a way that's not going to impact how we're seen in the future. I had a mentor tell me, if you need to leave, leave professionally, because you never know who knows the next person and
Mm-hmm.
how that person can impact how you're viewed on the next job. And I've seen that numerous times, no matter what the generation is.
Yes.
And the generation behind me, Gen Z, I'm always saying, do it the right way. Don't just
Yes.
walk away. Get up. If you need to leave, do it in a professional manner. And I would say to anyone, if you got to leave, do it. Talk to your mentors, talk to your spouse, talk to your friends, see what needs to be done. And if you're struggling with transitioning, talk to, communicate,
Mm-hmm.
write it down, write out your thoughts, pray, whatever those coping skills you need to survive the transition, make sure you do that.
Yes.
But those are the things that kind of led my decision, again, going back to those systematic issues. Just that's huge for me, at
Yes.
least.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for saying that small sentence that you said, leave in the right way. That's key. That was a golden nugget. I feel like, that was a PR message that you just gave there, because oftentimes, and I'm serious about that, because oftentimes that was a powerful message. Oftentimes individuals leave, and I know frustration builds and all of those things, but oftentimes individuals leave and they get so frustrated about the environment until they just leave. But you have to remember, and I'm dating myself. Whew, they'll say, it's a grandma
That's
rule.
all
And
right.
I'm saying that grandma rule. And Dr. Guy Robinson, we talk about stuff like this all the time. It's that grandma rule. You get out of there and say, I'm just going to get out of here and leave. But you never know how things come full circle until, just like you said a little earlier, Ms. Cuttray, that you never know who knows whom, that connection is made. People talk. We think this world is so big, but in reality it's really not. It may be a year or two, it may be a week or two, it may be a day, and someone says, oh, that your name comes up. Oh, I know that person. Oh, I've come across that name. You got to be careful about that. Got to be careful about that. But I don't want to get off on I want to stay on track here. I have a follow-up question for you, though. What role do workplace environments and leadership and organizational culture play in retention?
A huge one, a huge one. Um, uh, workplace environment, leadership, organizational culture, they're not just nice things to have. And when it comes to retention, they often they're deciding variables.
Mhm.
They're if your workplace is a mess, if your environment is stressful, and if your leadership is chaotic and we can't trust them and we don't have that level of support, um, you're not going to be able to get people to stay.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in this past organization or agency, excuse me, that I left, the structure of the department is falling apart. And these are
Mhm.
from my colleagues that are texting me. I had one text me yesterday. The department is in shambles. It's a mess. We are not functioning the way we need to because we've lost strong social workers, but
Mhm.
they've lost the strong social workers because that environment was chaotic.
Mhm.
The leadership
Yeah.
was not willing to listen and not willing to. I'm going to keep using this word pivot. It's one of my colleagues' favorite words. Shout out to Miss Wade, one of the best social workers I've ever met. Um, you've got to be willing to pivot and listen to those. And we talk about generations. To your point, Dr. RC, we talk about generations, and sometimes not sometimes, different generations bring
Mhm.
different nuances. And
Yes.
it's okay to listen to the younger generation. And it's okay for us to listen to older generations because
Mhm.
there's so much wisdom there and there's enlightenment, but there's also times where I may need to help you get on the computer. There's technology issues, and all I need to do is restart the computer and help you get
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And hey, I've dealt with this principal that doesn't know policy. What is the proper way for me to address this principal? And I've even had colleagues older than me. I've had to tell, hey, there's a proper way to say no.
Mhm. Yes.
There's a beautiful way in saying no without saying no, without them
Yes.
hearing just no.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I think there's a policy that aligns with what you're asking me. Let me look that up and let me get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when that structure isn't in place, everything will fall apart and you're not going to be able to keep people on staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being able to trust your leadership is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership really can impact the environment of the workplace and the
Yes.
culture of the workplace. So having
Mm-hmm.
strong leaders, having leaders who are not afraid to stand against the grain, that's what we need.
Yes. I love that. Once again, I'm telling you, the nuggets are being dropped. I hope you guys are taking notes. That's something to hold on to. It's time for another commercial break. I promise you, we'll be back with more.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back once again. I know that you all are getting so much out of this conversation on Dare to Soar with Dr. RC today. Dr. Guy Robinson, Mrs. Erika Cuttray. This conversation is something that you do not want to miss. So if you're not catching the live viewing, I know that you're going to watch the playback. Oh, I want to dive right back in and lead the return off with Dr. Guy Robinson. So, Dr. Guy Robinson, what are social workers asking for that they are not currently receiving?
Well, I will say my millennial and Gen Z colleagues in particular talk about money, the almighty dollar. Not that not that my generation or generations before mine were not concerned about money, but I know upon interviewing a few of my, or informally interviewing a few of my millennial and Gen Z colleagues that left school social work after a short time, after having a conversation with them about, well, why'd you leave? Some of it was money. One in particular actually pivoted, using Erika's word, and got a master's in a whole new profession. And she said the money that I was making as a school social worker, I now get that in bonuses.
Wow.
So she said she just felt like she was working for peanuts, and in order to live her best life ever, in her opinion, she felt like she needed to seek out a new profession. So I'll definitely say money is some of it, for some folks. And then for others of us, just not having support, as Erika shared, from your leadership. Some decisions were made and we felt like we weren't being supported by our administrator, who was directly in charge of us, district administration, those kinds of things. So those are some of the more common reasons that I would say informally our why school social workers are leaving and have left the profession.
Wow. Wow. So my next question is for the both of you. How has burnout shown up? Ooh, I know I feel a heavy weight on this question myself. How has burnout shown up in your experience, and how have you navigated it? So, Mrs. Cuttray, I'm going to start with you with that question.
uh, choosing myself, and I'm gonna say that every time. My mom, who may be watching, she's a baby boomer, and I've had so many conversations with her about how using my PTO is necessary. Taking my sick days, having a mental health day is necessary,
Yes.
and those things are going to keep you from burnout. And I actually learned that in my master's program. I
Hmm.
finished my master's program in 2016, started in 2014, and I remember one of my professors saying, this field can burn you out if you allow it. If you allow it. And not having proper boundaries in place, whether that's with, your clients or leadership, those things can burn you out.
Hmm.
And you have to know how to show up, and showing up in layers is okay, but when you need to take a step back, when that onion has been peeled back to its core, it's
Hmm.
okay to take a step back. Being emotionally drained isn't going to help anybody. So using that PTO, please use your PTO, take your time off, do all the things. Having all your PTO saved up is not a it's not a good thing anymore. And we're
Yes.
seeing this across the board, whether you're a social worker or a nurse or a teacher, you have to take a step back some days.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Guy Robinson, your response.
Okay, this is my generational response. You can tell that we're from different generations from my response. So I totally agree that self care is not selfish. However, I am a workaholic. I rarely, like when my dad died, and it's funny that we're having a conversation about this because just last week in class, because my students are getting ready to graduate. So I wanted to talk to them about leave time,
Hmm.
how you use it, taking days off, that kind of thing, because I've had some issues with some of my Gen Z students who, hey, I just need me a day, but you're in an internship. You're not getting paid, so generationally, we really do look at self-care and taking time off differently. So I'm of the belief, I totally agree with Erica that it is important to take self-care, to take time off, that kind of thing, but I don't always exemplify it. I don't always take time off. So as I was saying,
Hmm.
when my dad died, I was new on the job. I didn't have a lot of leave time, so I took one day off.
Hmm.
And I tell my students, I'm not saying that that is the way that you should be, but my generation and our parents' generations were taught that, hey, they don't care about what you have going on. You want to show that you're a good worker and a good employee, so you got to show up.
Yes.
So I'm not saying do as I say. I want you to do better than I do. I want you to do as I say, which is taking time off, but I want you to do better than I do. But there has to
Hmm.
be a balance. I think with, sometimes my younger colleagues, it's like, I need to live my best life ever. I have one day, so I'm gonna take a week off. You know, it's like, well, darling, what you gonna do when you get sick or when something happens? So, I remember my mom when she left, she wasn't even retiring. She left the state of Ohio where I grew up and moved back home to Alabama to be closer to her parents after a 20-year career in that state. And she had so much leave time that she could have taken a year off and gotten a paycheck.
Wow.
So, unfortunately or fortunately, that's what a lot of my generation has seen with our parents: work, work, work. And so I've embodied it. But then, generations after me have said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to burn myself out. I'm not going to work myself to death. I'm going to live my best life ever. So I think it just needs to be a happy medium. That's what I would say, between working a lot and all the time, but also living your best life ever, but not to a point where you're going to get fired because you've taken off so much time.
Yes. 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 Wow. I told you guys these questions and the information that's being shared with you, it's undeniable. I shared also, this is not a conversation about placing blame. This is a conversation about understanding. It's about taking all of this information in, and it's about listening, because it's about listening for understanding as well. And we have to listen to understand. to know where the gaps are. It is important. It is key because the social work profession is so vast. It is so wide. And we have to bring it together. We have to connect the dots. And we are connecting the dots truly. I'm getting the signal once again. It is time for a commercial break. We are heading towards a wrap up. This hour has gone so quickly. I feel like we could have probably gone for an hour and a half on this conversation. But we will be right back after this commercial break. See you at the commercial break.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Oh my gosh, guys. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I'm Dr. RC. These two wonderful, wonderful women have provided so much insight on this topic. Millennials are leaving the social work profession, the school social work profession. But guess what? They have dropped so many platinum nuggets. I have one last question for them, and this is for the both of them. If you could say one thing to leaders, policymakers, and decision makers about the future of social work, what would it be? Ms. Cuttray, I'm going to guide this to have you to lead this response off. So go ahead, please.
Social workers are needed everywhere. We're so essential, whether you realize it or not. Like, we are the policymakers, we are the leaders. Listen to us, allow us a seat at the table. Advocacy is not insubordination. You know, we're needed. We're needed. We are needed.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Guy Robinson.
I think about a quote, and Dr. RC, you may remember it. It was made by a school social worker, I don't know who, but I remember seeing it on some of the literature for our National School Social Work Organization. And the person said, if a child's heart is not healed, then I'm paraphrasing it because I can't remember exactly how it was stated. But if a child's heart is not healed, then they can't learn. Like, their head can't, absorb the information that you're trying to give them. So what I am saying is, when you're talking about school social workers, when you're talking about veterans, when you're talking about whomever, if their hearts are not healed, so whatever trauma they're dealing with or whatever emotional issues they're dealing with, if those things are not healed or if they're not handled, then they're not going to be able to be sitting in a classroom absorbing arithmetic or reading, writing, whatever. If you're in the workplace, you're not going to be focused on what you need to be focused on that's going to help you be a productive worker because you're dealing with a divorce or you're dealing with domestic violence or whatever the case may be. So You need social workers there to help heal whatever it is that's going on with someone so that they can go out and be a productive professional. So that would be my tidbit about um, our impact as social workers and, and,
Thank you.
and why we need social workers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Today's conversation reminds us of something we can no longer ignore. People are not leaving social work because they do not care. They're leaving because too often the systems they serve are not caring for them. And if we're honest, this is not a generational issue. This is a systemic one. Every story we heard today, whether rooted in staying, shifting, or stepping away, points to the same truth. Social workers are deeply committed, but commitment alone does not sustain a profession. It must be matched with support, with protection, and respect, and with systems that value the very people they depend on. Because the future of social work will not be determined by who enters it. It will be determined by who is able and willing to remain. And that responsibility does not belong to one generation. It belongs to all of us, to leaders, organizations, systems, and yes, to each other. I want to thank our incredible guests for your honesty, your courage, and your willingness to share your truth. Your voices are not reflections of experience, they're roadmaps to change. And every social worker listening, your voice matters. Your presence matters as well. Always remember your decisions, whether they stay, shift, or soar in decisions. But no matter where your path leads, you're not leaving the profession, you're helping to redefine it. And here is what I will leave with you today. The future of this profession will not be shaped by silence. It will be shaped by those who are willing to speak, challenge to transform what no longer serves us. Until next time, always remember to never be afraid to soar to new heights as you spread your wings. Till next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.